You can't see my snapping my fingers, so it doesn't matter anyway. Some people have asked me my opinion of the Dragon Ball Fighter Z Season 2, so I'll try to give a quick quotation mark opinion just on some things. Of course, it won't be quick, but I'll try to. So I guess the too long didn't read or didn't listen would be that I think it's weird that Arc Systems, Bandai Namco, whatever, they're basically, obviously from the patch, it kind of seems like they dislike team dynamics, team synergy sort of stuff. So if that's the case, why the fuck are you making a tag team game? You know what I mean? Just make a one versus one game, which I mean I would be fine with. I don't really care. Doesn't bother me. Make a more complicated one versus one game, but just as like the kind of thought process of you guys are making a tag team game and you are discouraging tag team dynamics, right? I mean, it's kind of fucking stupid, but yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? But okay, let's get into a few of the points. Some of the people are talking about, it's so stupid. They've really, really fucking toned down comboing after supers, basically. They changed the damage buffer on it, and they just made it so ridiculous. And I do think it's stupid. It's punishing you for finding teams that work together well. It's stupid. I mean, how else are you gonna say? And also, I should say it's funny because they said that they wanted the tempo of the game to be changed. They wanted it to be faster paced, but the only thing that really did that in this game, the change, is like the blue life and I guess the level 3. But besides that, I mean, what the fuck did you change? It's kind of you didn't really fucking change anything, dude. You actually made, by making you do less damage with all these, more potentially, complicated quotation marks combos, you're making the matches are going to take longer, right? I mean, that's fucking stupid. Even Goku's double super doesn't work. That's so ridiculous. And they even made that harder to do with the way that beams hit you now. Which is kind of funny because I do remember some of my haters at the beginning of the game, which I still have, of course, were like, oh, who cares if Clayton just found the double super and all these other things? Because obviously they wanted that to be in the game anyway, blah, blah. And, the weird thing about that is, though, they purposely have not only made this do less damage, they made it harder to do by changing the ways that beams hit you, but whatever the case. So yeah, I think it's stupid making the super stuff do less because some of the combos, not every combo is a fucking bardock combo. You know what I mean? I think that's the main thing that people are complaining about with this. Or the Kid Buu stuff is just super to super to super. Like, what about the more complicated stuff that you can do that I've shown is possible? Like, it's not just the easy shit that got toned down. The more complicated stuff got toned down too, which is really discouraging, right? I mean, whatever. And also, speaking of team dynamics, they got rid of stuff like they don't want you to be able to DP and assist, which is retarded. Like, here's the thing, even if it's abusable, quotation marks, it's a tag team game, dude. Stuff like that is going to happen. When you make a tag team game, you can't only pick one character. Like, too bad if you can't pick. And here's the thing, you can still pick all the characters you like, right? It doesn't matter. You're just gonna have to find a way to make it work, right? But will it maybe be as abusable as this other team? What can you do? It's a tag team game, dude. Certain characters are going to have dragon punches, and certain characters are going to have good assists. And a team dynamic of a tag team game is making teams work. Sometimes you're just gonna have shit like that is gonna happen. It's a fucking tag team game, dude. It's there's going to be DPs and there's going to be assists that protect DPs. That's the fucking game. It's a tag team game. There's going to be team dynamics. Just like certain teams are going to have supers that are going to work better together. It's a tag team game, dude. What are you gonna do? Then don't fucking play it, dude. I mean, that's the game you're playing, dude. It's just so ridiculous. That's what happens in a tag team game. Go play a one versus one game, right? I mean, it's also, I think, the the DP and assist thing is actually also, I think, very morally wrong because it's putting in rules that only punish certain characters or certain ideas. And that is a very, very terrible thing to do. You should not be, you are saying that basically, hey, here are all the rules of how you can play this game. and your friend comes over and you play this game and the friend beats you. And then you're like, oh, well, hey, friend, you go to Jimmy's house, right? Jimmy made this game that you're playing with him. And he tells you the rules of the game. And you beat Jimmy at the game. And Jimmy tells you, well, actually, I didn't tell you. These rules only count for me. These rules don't count for your character. And you're like, what? He's like, and Jimmy's like, yeah, well, see, how you tag and do assists in this game only count if you pick my characters. If you pick your characters, you're not allowed to do it like that. And you're like, Jimmy, what the fuck are you talking about? You just told me this is the rule of the game. And Jimmy's like, fuck you, bitch. You know what I mean? This isn't the rule of the game. This is the rule when I play, not when you play. So anyway, hopefully you get what I'm saying. It's morally fucking wrong. Are things abusable in some sense? Maybe they are, but it's a tag team game. That's what happens when you have like the synergistic effect, right? You know what I mean, of certain teams. That's what happens. You know what I mean? It's just so ridiculous. And another thing too, talking about this as well, some people were trying to say that this makes the game more creative because now you don't have to pick teams that have good synergy. Well, what the fuck are you like contradicting yourself here? You know what I mean? So now you can you could always pick these teams. Maybe they're not, maybe you're going to have to find a way to make it work though, right? Like, here's an idea too. Think about the double super stuff like this as well. I saw some people trying to argue that, oh, the game has just devolved into characters that are good with double supers, blah, blah. And it's like, well, do you remember when everyone was saying that this game, you could only be good if your character had a low? Like a low 2L, right? Low 2 light. Well, what the fuck? Like, think about a character like Goku. Goku can do double supers. Does he have a low 2 light? He doesn't. What the fuck is going on? You contradicted yourself. What about all these people that said, again, you have to have a 2 light? What about Vegito? Vegito has good double supers, but he doesn't have a light. So here's the thing. Again, especially and I've said this before, I don't think this game is particularly made well in the first place. But you've actually made a game when you are specifically giving characters, telling them that they can't have a low, which is absolutely retarded, but it is what it is. You are purposely making a game where you need weird shit like that. You need more weird shit like that to make it different because you've given yourself an excuse to make it different because you are taking away a fundamental aspect of a fighting game in the first place by not giving everyone just like a light like that, right? So anyway, that's a huge contradiction to people trying to argue that this is good because it's like, dude, you've already proven that you guys are contradicting yourself, that you can't play with a character unless they have a 2 light. And it's like, well, I guess they have double supers. So it's like, well, dude, obviously every character has something different to the table. Some characters maybe some characters can do both, which, you know, excuse me, is going to make them better, whatever the case. They have like more gimmicks than other ones, but the point is, people have already contradicted themselves by trying to say that certain parts of this patch is good because by saying double super is bad here, but you were just complaining that the character can't be good unless they have a light. Well, it's like, dude, we just proved that. So, like, which one is it? You can't even fucking decide because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? Again, a lot of people that complain about games have never won tournaments in the first place, so it's so fucking ridiculous. But besides that, making the game faster, obviously they're trying to say, but they put in all these like the meter builds slower, which is stupid because this goes into the idea of why am I being punished for winning the match? Why am I being punished for hitting you with a super? Why? I mean, it's one thing for a vanish to build less meter. I can understand that idea, but why just when I hit you with a super do I build less meter? Why when I do, you know, all this other shit? It just is like, why am I being punished for winning the match and you're being rewarded for losing? Again, you know what I mean? I understand there needs to be like a comeback factor, but that just is kind of, that shit's weird to me. A lot of people are talking about the alpha counter stuff. I don't know what it's called in this game. Is it called like a counter switch, alpha counter? I don't know what the fuck it's called. I think the alpha counter, a lot of people are complaining about it, and how should I say this? I don't think it's as huge as a problem as some people are making it out to be, but I think it's a problem in that it's going to magnify the other problems with the game. So, because it's all going to be like encompassed and like weighed together or something. Again, my English is terrible, but So first of all, the alpha counter thing, obviously you needed to make alpha counters better. And because I think the main problem with alpha counters is when the fact that you could be doing like a combo string, yada, 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 and then say you do jab, medium, hard, and the guy was to alpha counter when you did medium, and then the hard hits them, right? Like that should never fucking happen, right? Like that shit is fucking stupid, right? So, but the problem is they made it like kind of completely invincible, and but here's the thing, you can actually still punish it, right? So it's not that bad. Like I mean, you can, you can too hard it still, you can vanish, so you're basically trading to trade your meter for meter, right? And I think it's a problem because now it's beating things that it should have before. Like it should never beat like an example, easy an example would have said where they just might get randomly tagged by a hard into a combo. Like that shit was stupid. But I think the problem is that it can potentially beat stuff that it has no business beating now, right? Like it can potentially beat, supers and shit. Like it should not beat supers, but I guess because of the way the move works, how it's like it's a fucking homing dash, you know what I mean? You kind of put yourself in a hole of how to make it better. Personally, again, I've already said all the many changes I would have done with the game. I think defensively they could have just added like, a fucking FD or something or a reflect that costs meter to beat normals. Or I even think what they could have fucking done for this the homing dash. Why not make the homing dash come out the other way, come from behind the guy, so it's not going to beat the moves in front of them, right? It's coming behind you, so you still bait it, but it comes out the other side of the screen, or it comes up from the top of the screen down on you, right? I mean, I think that would have been a better choice, right? Because it doesn't need to be invincible, but it still is beating the problem of that you alpha counter and you just ran into something, which is stupid, right? But whatever the case. But here's the problem with the alpha counters too. We think about this game, unlike, again, I don't know how many people actually have played competitively old school Street Fighter, but when we think about when alpha counters started to become a problem, that was because in old school, like say Street Fighter, an alpha counter, you only have 3 bars a meter, right? So now, again, when I want to talk about this, shows like the problems of, it's kind of like an encompassing problem, not just necessarily that the move has some invincibility now, but this is a game where you have 7 bars. So now you technically have 7 chances to alpha counter, right? So again, this isn't a game like old school Street Fighter. You only have 3 bars, and alpha counters could potentially be pretty powerful with some characters in certain games where you only have 3 bars. But this is a game where you potentially have 7 alpha counters. Now, also, we have a problem that in this game, I think it's going to magnify the problem that normal-wise, you can't stagger your pressure correctly in this game in the first place, right? Because you can't mash light like you should be able to. Your characters only have so many normals in the first place, right? So this is going to magnify the problem, I think, of that, because people are going to try to tap a little bit more and stutter. But the fact is, you don't have a lot of options in this game like that to bait the alpha counter. So it's only going to make that fundamental problem of the game more obvious, I think. Because again, you can punish this, right? Like I don't think the alpha counter, like people are saying like, oh, you can't get out of this, whatever now, because you definitely can. It's just that it can potentially beat too much stuff. You can potentially have 7 ways of doing it. And it's going to show that this some of the fundamental flaws of this game. Besides that, though, they did make alpha counter, like I said, all this other kind of stuff. You don't build meter after you do it. So this is going to show the problem of, we're going back to the game, they wanted to make it faster. This is going to make the game slower too, because I think that when characters alpha counter, or you're trying to bait the alpha counter, so say I hit you with my super, I knock you down, I can't build any more bar. So I'm trying to stutter now to pressure you in a game that doesn't have correct stutter pressure fundamentally. And then if you alpha counter, then you can't do any super for a while because you no longer build bar. So we're both at 0 bar playing this game that is already fundamentally flawed. Does that make sense? Because again, I think you can punish this. I don't think it's as OP as people are saying. I just think that it is going to potentially beat shit that it shouldn't. But again, you kind of dug yourself a hole with the way that you programmed how the alpha counter works in the first place. So again, I think the way that they changed meter is actually going to make then, so you kind of like go back, you went back in a circle, right? And you're like, wow, so how are we going to like, We've toned down all the combos in this game. We're going to be building less meter. So it's like we're already going to be building less meter to do these more complicated combos in the first place, which now are not even worth it. And even if we could, you know what I mean? We're not building the meter to do them because we're trying to change the game fundamentally with how the meter builds and then the alpha counter. And, we can't, did my computer just shut off again? I sure better fucking not have. We can't fundamentally stagger pressure correctly. You know what I mean? It's just going to make it, it's going to make it a little bit weird, I think. Other things besides that, I think that they said that punishing text is harder. I don't get that because this game already doesn't have a correct fundamental view of how you punish text because of throws. But I don't think that will ever change because how throws are is a fundamental thing that is programmed in the game. I don't see that ever changing. I don't like it, but whatever the case, I don't see why you would make punishing the text even harder now. Whatever the case that supposed change was, that's retarded. They did add this the burst. You can burst out of a block, which I think is a potentially very interesting thing, but I think they kind of dropped the ball. And I'm going to go out here on a limb, and I'm going to say something completely stupid. And I agree that it's completely stupid, but roll with me in today's patch culture where you can patch anything a month after you've had it out. I think this would have been an interesting change to do. Just leave it in game for a month, have the community play it for a month, maybe two, whatever, see what happens. I think you could have made this blocking burst thing, you could have made this a Hail Mary burst, sparking. I was calling it a burst, it's called sparking, right? I forget. What if, imagine this, imagine you didn't really change the alpha counters how you did, or maybe you did, whatever the case, What if you made the burst out of a block count as a hit? And this is going to sound stupid, and I agree this sounds stupid, and I agree this sounds completely kind of fucked up. But again, in today's patch culture, I think you could have fucking tried this, and you could have really switched this, right? Instead of having the alpha counter be how it is now, what if you gave the opponent this Hail Mary sparking? So you know how like when you hit a guy with a sparking, they can't tech and you can combo after them? What if when you sparkinged and you blocked, and if it hit the guy couldn't tech and you could combo them? I know, I'm giving you a chance to think. You're like, dude, that sounds potentially completely broken, right? So you're giving your character a Hail Mary fucking sparking that they can block, and they might be able to touch a death you. So maybe you'd have to like fiddle with it. Maybe it would have a half damage buffer. It'd only do half, but you still get a big combo off it, right? Maybe it does full, maybe there's no damage buffer, but unlike the other sparking, you don't build meter after you hit it, right? Or maybe if when you sparking, it's potentially a little bit slower. So if you're fast, you could react to it and beat it with a DP if your character had a DP or vanish or whatever. But I almost think if you could vanish, I almost think that would make it kind of like pointless, because then I think people with too good of reactions will always just be able to vanish it, right? So I don't know, but I think you could add, imagine how fucked up the mind game of this game would have been if you had a sparking and you only get one. So basically, you're choosing, am I going to do a sparking combo when I start to combo you, eventually, like the game is kind of played now anyway, to try to kill you? Or am I going to save my sparkings for the first time that I get put in a block string? I sparking out of it, and I do an instant kill combo on that character. And that sounds fucking wacky and maybe potentially completely fucking broken. But tag team games tend to be pretty broken. And my thought process is, this game is so fucked up kind of fundamentally in so many ways anyway in the first place. Just the fear of having the opponent be in that way, like, oh my God, is he actually going to use his sparking once he starts hitting me or whatever? That would make you automatically want to be a little bit wary to do all these snapback loops and spark in whatever Hellzone grenade, that people complain about, any kind of pressure in the first place, because the opponent might be like, man, this might be where he's going to use his one fucking sparking Hail Mary to kill me. Because if he has the execution to do it, he's going to fucking do it. And that would automatically, I think, make you be a little bit wary when the game starts. Even if you chase no other defensive options. Again, sounds almost completely potentially broken, especially if the meta devolves into everyone always saved it for their last character. Because then potentially you could have characters that are basically, if it's only 1v1, they wait to block the first hit, and then they block one hit and they fucking spark in you and you die. That could be potentially really fucking stupid, right? So that's why I think that maybe it would have to be something a little bit slower so that you could theoretically react to it, or you'd have to give it like a half damage buffer. You know what I mean? Again, potentially really fucking stupid, but just because in today's patch culture, I would like to see something really fucked up put like that in the game, just to like test this for a month, right? Again, I think maybe make it a little bit slower, or maybe make the sparking when you do it like that too hardable. You can do a 2H it because it's not invincible to 2Hs, right? So if you're doing a combo and a dude reacted to you, right? But it's got to be good enough that it makes the opponent afraid, but it's got to be good enough that it can be kind of bullshit and cheap, right? But I think that could have been a really weird thing. But anyway, besides that, yeah. So basically, I don't have much to say about it. I think most of the stuff is pretty boring. Hopefully they change other stuff. But yeah, dude. Like I said, I think it's a tag team game, but they're discouraging tag team synergetics. There's always going to be stuff that is better with certain characters. How about, we already have characters like, I mean, this just goes back to the whole the game developers are trying to play the game for you. They're trying to decide how the game must be played, and it's just so terrible, right? I mean, why? Again, this is because you're punishing characters for having a DP. How about this? I don't like throw characters, so my rule of the game is if you can't DP and assist, if you have a throw character, I don't think you should ever be able to assist either. Because I don't think you should ever be able to throw me into a fucking combo with an assist. That's fucking cheap, right? I mean, what's the difference, right? You're fucking trying to decide how I should play the game. It's just so stupid, right? There's always going to be better stuff. And then you give, these characters work better synergistically. It's like, I thought you just fucking said characters can't work unless they have a low. Like, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Stop playing. Or stop complaining because these developers actually listen to you. Anyway, and of course, Alpha Counters. I think it's potentially too good just because it can beat stuff it shouldn't. But I definitely think that people are going to punish it more than people are acting like. And but then you're going to like the vicious circle of then you're going to go back and you're going to see the fundamental flaw of the game because characters are not diverse enough without meter. You know what I mean? And you Alpha Counter, now you don't have meter for a while. I mean, this guy, he just supered you. He doesn't have meter to do anything. Then you Alpha Counter right when he tries to hit you. You guys are both bad. You guys have no meter. You can't do shit. You know what I mean? Then you're going to see like, the stagger pressure of this game is kind of awkward, right? Blah, blah, blah. I think it's going to show certain problems of that. And they're like, I'm trying to do like a cool setup on you. But wait a second. They made even teching even better, but there's not a real fucking teching throw kind of mind game like a traditional. I think that is a potential problem of what's going to happen. But yeah, anyway, I got doctor stuff to do, so the end.